The Haunted Mansion is one of Disney's most iconic attractions, and it looks like changes are on the way. Hello everybody, welcome. New permits reveal that Disney is going to be making changes to this iconic opening day attraction that many fans agree is already pretty much perfection. The Haunted Mansion was an opening day attraction at the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, opening way back in October 1st of 1971. In fact, the Disneyland version of Haunted Mansion was one of the last things that Walt Disney himself oversaw the creation of. Many people consider the Haunted Mansion to be virtually a perfect attraction, and it has largely remained unchanged since it first opened. There have been some enhancements over the years. The Walt Disney World version has a couple of additional scenes. There's been some improvements from like projections and lighting and things like that. But for the most part, the experience from start to finish, the entry going in, the dialogue, the experience, the ride attraction, it's pretty much the same. So why do people find the Haunted Mansion to be such an amazing attraction? Why do people have so much heart for it, nostalgia for it, new generations coming in and just falling in love with it? What is it about Haunted Mansion that makes it so perfect? The first thing is it has this unique blend of like spookiness, but also like fun. It's not like overly haunted and spooky and not like super childlike and playful and fun. It just finds that sweet spot right in the middle. And it has these timeless effects, like industry groundbreaking, original, timeless effects that have now been used and copied over and over and over for decades, like the iconic Pepper's ghost effect. And it has this rich, original lore. Original. This is an original idea, an original attraction. This is not something that comes from an IP or some movie that they created. It was an original idea for an attraction. It has amazing theatrical storytelling during the attraction, all from the very first moment you see the Haunted Mansion all the way through the exit. It uses the iconic Disney Omnimover system and uses this sort of doom buggy, this intimate little 2 to 3 person doom buggy that sort of wraps around you and really just creates this like intimate experience. I mean, you're on this track with hundreds of other people, but yet because of the lighting and the shape of the vehicle that you're in and how it moves, you feel like the only person on the attraction. And it just feels like this wholly intimate experience for just you. Like they pull it off so well. And of course, it's for all ages. Young kids, older adults, I mean, everybody this ride works for, and that is a huge benefit. It really is a masterclass in theme park attraction design. Classic illusions, personal narration. It just makes everything feel very magical, very nostalgic, and it is just so experiential. It's just very much unlike a lot of modern day attractions. In addition, the exterior and the thought and the design of the Haunted Mansion, the exterior portion of it, is one of the best examples of creating this illusion of this massive haunted mansion and beautifully immersive visuals around it, while simultaneously hiding this massive show building behind it. Imagineers back in the day took so much time to painstaking detail in this meticulous approach to world building to ensure that guests stayed immersed in this experience from start to finish. You can see it here. I've got this visual here, this overlap. You can kind of see how they do this. They've got this beautiful mansion. It's sort of elevated up above you a little bit, and then this huge, massive show building right behind it. And when you're at the ground level standing in front of the Haunted Mansion, you cannot see this massive show building. You just can't see it. It looks like you are just going into this mansion in front of you. Now, this same effect you can see is achieved at Disneyland in California. Again, they have the mansion somewhat elevated there. They've got this massive show building behind it, and it really just looks truly amazing. So this is accomplished in a few clever ways. At Walt Disney World, you enter the mansion sort of at the lower ground level. You go into this portrait room and then you get this stretching room, right? The room sort of stretches above you and then the doors open, the corridor opens, you walk down this corridor and you get onto the attraction. It takes you into that basically massive show building. As I mentioned, the outdoor mansion is also elevated and it's shaped in a way that makes it look much larger, it helps to sort of hide that facade behind it along with the tree lines behind it. It gives it this larger than life like appearance and all the trees behind it, and it just blocks it out and it works perfectly. Now in Disneyland, there's a little bit of a difference because they don't have nearly as much space as they do in Walt Disney World. The show building behind it itself is actually a little bit lower than it would be in Walt Disney World. You enter at the bottom, you go into this same sort of stretching room there, but instead of the room stretching, instead of the walls moving upward, you actually take an elevator ride down to a sub-level. Then the corridor doors open, you walk through the corridor, it's a little bit longer, and then you head into the attraction. They do this because they don't have as much space, they needed to lower it, and there's a railroad that runs directly behind the Haunted Mansion that you have to now go underneath of and walk under the railroad. So they have just thought about everything. They made it work in both locations in two different ways using a lot of the same techniques, but it just goes to show like how much detail they pay attention to, how much they go through to preserve the visuals and keep you in that experience. So making changes to this iconic attraction is huge. You can really mess things up. We've seen this with other attractions at Disney, Universal, other locations. You can mess things up pretty easily if you're not careful. And now we have 3 new permits for the Haunted Mansion and its surrounding areas. The first permit was filed December 26th of 2025. This is located at 1600 Magic Kingdom Drive, and this is the very address for the Haunted Mansion. And it is a contract with Mecca Productions to install set elements. And Mecca is a design, fabrication, and installation firm that Walt Disney has worked with in the past. They were on the recent permit to create the brand new Toy Story snack booth that just launched over in Hollywood Studios. They're also currently working on the dinosaur attraction and reimagining that into the Indiana Jones attraction and transforming the Rock and Roller Coaster to the Muppets. This permit is also from Imagineering, not Disney Facilities. So that tells you a lot. When it's from Imagineering, this is typically going to be a creative assignment. This isn't going to be maintenance work. This isn't going to be touch-ups. This is going to be creative work when it involves Imagineering, and you look at the firm Mecca and the things that they're doing, it definitely indicates that there's going to be some creative shifts, some creative changes coming to the Haunted Mansion. So the question then is, what is this permit for? What are they going to be doing? We don't know. We don't have anything official, but we can speculate on what could be happening. One of the most obvious changes that could be happening at Haunted Mansion and Walt Disney World is updating the bride in the attic scene. They've already made the changes to the version in Disneyland where the bride now no longer carries an axe or a weapon. When you go through that room, there are lots of portraits. It is a wife that has basically chopped off the heads of all of her previous husbands. In the Disneyland version, she no longer carries an axe, she carries a candelabra. And this is because Disney came out and said they didn't really want to have a bride as an axe murderer. They wanted to be very cognizant about sensitivities to people that are going on the attraction. They wanted to sort of soften it up a bit. They go on to say that we were basically celebrating a bride chopping off the heads of her husbands. And to them, that felt weird. So that could be what they're planning on changing in the Haunted Mansion. It could be other things like new effects, new changes to some of the different scenes. Don't really know for sure, but we do know that that change occurred in Disneyland, so it could be something similar coming to Walt Disney World. Now, there was a second permit filed January 13th of 2026, just a few days ago. Again, the same location, 1600 Magic Kingdom Drive. However, this one was for general construction, and it is a different firm executing it called MLC Theming. Now, MLC Theming has again worked with Disney in the past. They've been responsible for a lot of amazing things. They worked on Pandora, the World of Avatar, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Once again, this is indicative of creative theming not maintenance work. This contracting firm, this is a heavy lifter. If you look at their Rolodex, if you look at how they describe themselves, they say they are masters of their trade, including scenic painting, aging of structures, fabricating facades, carving rock work, and more. When they use the words general construction, that really allows them to do a lot of different things. It keeps the scope very broad, so it's not just like one small thing. They could be doing a lot of different types of work. Once again, Walt Disney Imagineering is listed as overseeing the work. So again, this is going to be a creative endeavor, not just general maintenance. So then the question becomes, what are they going to be doing? What are they being hired for? Given that it's MLC theming and it's from Imagineering, aging of structures, fabricating, rock work, things like that, this is very likely, I'm going to assume, that this has to do with the exterior of the Haunted Mansion. So not working on interior scenes for the attraction, but making some significant, not minor, but I think significant changes to the exterior facade of the Haunted Mansion itself. And here's why. If you think about what they're doing around the Haunted Mansion right now, they've got the brand new Piston Peak Cars area that is going to be coming right next door now that they've gotten rid of Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. They're building that entire Piston Peak there, and we know that they're building Villains Land, which will basically wrap around to the backside of Haunted Mansion. You can see it on my map here that I've created, kind of see where Cars Land is versus Villains Land, and it basically just hugs that entire backside to left side of the Haunted Mansion. That's where it's going to be. So sure, you could potentially just throw up some trees and block some stuff, and I'm sure there will be some trees there. But I think what they're doing is they're thinking about the sight lines, they're thinking about what's themed and what's not, and they're thinking about that massive show building that's back there. And they're most likely going to have to start making some changes and adjustments to the facade to make it feel more well-rounded, to make sure it still fits in the look and feel, and it feels whole, and you don't see these weird buildings and things sticking out. They're gonna have to make some changes to the queuing area, specifically the extended queuing area. They're gonna have to make changes to that, and I think that's what this is for. Now, there is now a third permit also that alludes to that, and this was also filed on January 13th of 2026. The address on this permit is 1445 Magic Kingdom Drive. This is in fact that sort of old keelboats area there, the extended Haunted Mansion queue that you may see if the line is super long. They don't use that anymore, the keelboat area. They just basically use it for super overflow for the Haunted Mansion. Once again, this permit is for general construction, it's for Imagineering, and it's the MLC theming once again. The same as the last permit we just covered, all the fabrication, rock work, etc. So this is most likely going to be construction for that keelboat area. Again, extending the queue, making changes to it so it feels more part of Haunted Mansion, and probably thinking about how they're going to transform that area there so that you aren't just looking directly into the new Piston Peak and hearing cars zooming around as part of the new attraction and thinking about the sound lines and the sight lines. Right now in the Haunted Mansion queue, they basically have this big wall that they've erected there that is very ugly, for lack of a better word. Nothing else they could do there right now, but it's very ugly and it blocks airflow. That's the worst thing. Like when there was a waterway right on the other side of that, I mean, you got lots of airflow. It kept that line breezy and cool and comfortable. And when they had to shut that whole thing off all the way down that left side, it's now stifling in there to the point where they've had to add these giant fans to try to circulate air, which is also weird because now you have this very loud fan blowing, again, takes away from the experience. And so I think they're trying to figure out how do they improve that area? What are they going to do there to block off Piston Peak, also keep it more immersive and experiential, take it all the way down to the keel boats, think about how they're going to reimagine that and make it more of an extended queue for the Haunted Mansion. I believe that's what they're going to be doing in that space. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on these permits? Are you excited about these changes coming to Haunted Mansion? Are you nervous? Because man, you could mess up Haunted Mansion and it's pretty much a perfect attraction. So let's be careful here. They have made some changes in the past that I think have made it better, so I have high confidence in them, but it's a great attraction, so be careful. I'd love to hear what you think. What are your thoughts about what they're doing? Have you heard anything? You got any inside information? Let me know down in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. Once again, thanks so much for watching. And of course, until I see you next time, the noble way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.